Good morning and on to part 2. So let's practice graphing one more time. This one is already fully factored. There are 3 x's, so there are 3 roots. So plus 2 would be negative 2. The multiplicity is that exponent is 2. Negative 1 will be positive 1. Multiplicity is that exponent, 2. Negative 5 will be positive 5. Multiplicity is 3. If I add up this multiplicity, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's an odd number. And then there's a negative in front, so our graph will be a negative odd. Okay, let's graphity graph. Plot my roots, negative 2, 1, 5. And negative odd starts up, ends down. At negative 2, we are going to bounce. At 1, we are also going to bounce. And at 5, 3, we're going to wiggle. So there's our graph. The only thing we have left is that y-intercept. So to solve for y, we plug in 0 for x. So that'll be negative 3, 0 plus 2 squared, 0 minus 1 squared, 0 minus 5 cubed. Oh, sorry. So let's go ahead and start evaluating. So that's negative 3. This will be 2 to the second. That's 4. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. And negative 5 cubed will be negative 125. Okay, 2 negatives will make a positive. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 125 is 1,500. Wow, okay. So my y-intercept is at 0, 1,500. Good thing this is a sketch. Yay! All right, on to remainder and factor theorem. Now, remainder and factor theorem, you're doing the same thing. You are plugging in the root into the x value to get the remainder. The remainder theorem just asks what's the remainder, so you would give it that number. Factor theorem just asks, is it a factor? So you're answering yes or no based on what the remainder is. So if the remainder is 0, you say yes, it is a factor. Excuse me. Okay, so we have to see if 2 is a factor. So our answer is either going to be yes or no for this. So x minus 2, the root is 2. So I'm going to plug in 2 into all these x's. Okay, and now I'll just start evaluating. If you have a calculator, you can type this all in, or you might have to just go piece by piece. I know the answer is 30. So 30 is the remainder. But the question is it a factor? So the answer is no. Okay, the next one is what is the remainder? So our answer will be a number. We're dividing by x minus 1. So x equals 1. So plug in 1. This one stresses people out because of how big the exponents are, but we've done this one in class. 1 to the 500th power is still 1. So this will just be negative 1 minus 50 plus 30 minus 5. And you get negative 26 is the remainder. Yoo-hoo! Okay, to write the equation of the polynomial. So you've kind of been doing this in some of your homework where you have to identify the roots. So here's the roots. We have x equals negative 1, x equals 2, and x equals 4. Okay, well now at each of the roots we have to look at the graph to determine what it's doing. Is it bouncing, wiggling, or going through to determine its multiplicity? So at negative 1, it's bouncing, so that'll be a multiplicity of 2. At 2, it's wiggling, so that'll be a multiplicity of 3. At 4, it goes straight through, so that'll be a multiplicity of 1. So now I write my equation, f of x equals, well, I need to figure out if it's positive or negative. If both arrows are pointing down, that's a negative even graph. So I need a negative out in front. Okay, we'll start over here. If x is -1, that's x plus 1. Multiplicity is 2. If the x is +2, we'll write x minus 2, multiplicity 3, and then x minus 4, the multiplicity is 1, so I don't need to write it. There's my equation. Okay, here is big ol' sister Descartes' rule of signs, where we do the P&I chart and all that jazz. So, first, given that equation, let's create the P&I chart. Okay. P and I. So to get the positive, I'm going to count how many times the sign switches from term to term. So positive to negative, negative to positive, positive to positive is fine. So there's 2 switches. Now we rewrite this equation. Remember, even, you stay the same, but odd, you change. And I'm talking about the exponents here. This is an odd exponent, so we're going to change. Right now it's positive, I'm going to change to negative. This is an even exponent, so I'm going to stay the same. That's an odd exponent, so we're going to change. This doesn't have an x, so it stays the same. The only switch we have is from here to here, so that's just 1 time for our negative column. The whole row has to equal the greatest exponent. That's 3, so I need 0 here. Remember, to get from row to row, you have to subtract by 2. So first, I'm just going to subtract from positive. So 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down the 1. I need 2 more to equal 3. Once I've subtracted from positive, now I'm going to subtract from negative. So I would bring down the 2, bring down the positive, but 1 minus 2 gives us a negative number. So I can't do that. This is my P&I chart. Next step is to list your plus or minus P over Q. P is that last number, Q is the first number. List out their factors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12, and then 1 and 2. And now we'll make the actual list, everything over 1, and then everything over 2. So 1 over 1, 2 over 1, 3 over 1, 4 over 1. Okay, and then over 2, so 1/2. 2 over 2 is 1. I already wrote that. I'm not going to write it again. 3 over 2. 4 over 2 is 2. I'm not going to write that again. 6 over 2 is 3. I'm not going to write that again. 12 over 2 is 6. I'm not going to write that again. So here are all my options to choose from. I am going to go ahead, for the sake of time on this video, pick a factor that I know works. So you would go through and just pick some of these numbers out. Remember, you have a positive version and a negative version of each of these. Do synthetic division to see which one gives you a remainder of 0. I know that 3 works. So I'm going to write out my coefficients here. 2, 13, 17, 12. Was that negative 13? Yeah. Okay. Bring down the 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Negative 13 and 6 make 7. 7 and 3 is 21. Oh dang, negative 7. So negative 21. This will make negative 4. Negative 4 and 3 make negative 12. So the remainder is 0. So I know it's a factor. So when I go to write this in factored form, if I use positive 3, my equation says x minus 3. And then write what's left over, 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. And this is what you're factoring by hand using whatever method you prefer. So I'm going to do what I did on that first page, where I write 2x, and then this is 8. So what adds to 8, or sorry, what multiplies to 8 but adds to negative 7, that'll be 8 and 1. So negative 8 plus 1 will give you negative 7. Okay, this one can be divided by 2. This one cannot. So x minus 3, this will be x minus 4, and 2x plus 1. So now we have it fully factored. We're going to write our roots. So remember the opposites. This will be positive 3. This will be positive 4. This is not negative 1 because you have a 2 here. So we're going to start with the negative 1 that we get here, divide by the coefficient. So negative 1/2. Okay, this is on the test, this whole question. However, I'm not gonna make you completely do the whole question on the test because it's still gonna be like fill in the blank, multiple choice kind of thing. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna fill out this whole question for you. I'm gonna do this whole question for you on the test. But then like maybe here and here and here and here and here and here, I leave all these blanks and then you have to like fill in the blanks. So it's pretty much done for you. You just kind of have to fill in the missing pieces. So it won't be too terrible. The last piece we have to talk about is the last thing we learned, those inequalities. So we're gonna graph the polynomial, figure out where it's above or below 0. So again, I just graph that x-axis, put down my intercepts. So I have 1, 2, and 3. Now look at your inequality to determine if you have open or closed points. We will have closed points because it's equal to. Okay, my multiplicity is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to have a positive even. So that's up and up. And now we'll actually do our little graph. So at 1, it bounces. 2, it goes through. 3, it's going to wiggle based on their exponents, their multiplicities. Now I'm going to take my highlighter and highlight where on this line is it bigger than 0. So that's here and here. For my inequality, this is the x-axis. We are writing a domain. Your x-axis goes from negative infinity to positive infinity. A lot of y'all want to say this is positive infinity just because the arrow is pointing up. But remember, we're writing a domain. So this is the far left side. So I'm going to start with the negative infinity. And I'm going to go all the way to 2. The reason I don't stop at 1 is because it includes 1. It's a closed point. So stop at 2, hard bracket, because again, it's a closed point. But then I have another section. So I'm going to do the union 3 to this one's positive infinity. So there's my answer. Last one. We do have to factor this piece. X squared minus 16 is x plus 4, x minus 4. And then we still have x plus 2 squared is less than 0. Excuse me. Let's go to our x-axis. We have -4 and -2 and positive 4. These are all open points because it's just less than. Multiplicity is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's even. It's positive, so up and up. Both 4s we go straight through, but on the 2 we're gonna bounce. So straight through, bounce, straight through. On this one, we're highlighting where it's less than 0, so below the line. When I write this answer though, I'm not gonna be able to include everything like I did over here for this section because it kind of skips over that -2 where we had an open point. So I'll start with -4, parentheses, because it's an open point, then go to -2, parentheses, because I had to skip over it, union, pick back up at that -2 to positive 4. All parentheses because we have open points. Your test will either be on Monday or Tuesday, depending on when we have class. My next option for tutorials is Monday morning, so please attend if you need to. I will put a little discussion post in this lesson, so if you do just have some quick questions that we can all answer each other's questions or I can answer your questions, please put them there. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.